What's up YouTube? We're back once again. This time we're going to be doing a Fire Emblem Engage tier list for the Emblem Ring. I think it'll be kind of cool to see where my opinion lies on this and then see how the meta develops going forward with like early meta and then the optimized LTC meta and stuff like that. So let's get into it. Before we get into that, I'm going to be streaming this game Maddening Blind on my Twitch channel. You can see down here. Tomorrow you can come on through. I'll be posting when I'm live on my Twitter, on YouTube in the community tab, and you can just follow my Twitch if you want to see it there on time. So make sure you do that, don't miss out. All right guys, we got the tier list up here. I got this broken down into a couple categories. I don't think we're going to be seeing some of these in use. At the top we got broken. This is just going to be, no matter what character you put this on, they're going to be really strong, really good, constantly doing things, or they can make any character just amazing just by being on them. High impact is simply for characters that they'll just make them really good when they get on. Potential is kind of like, I don't know, maybe, I don't know, they might be really good, maybe they won't be pretty good. Solid is just for being solid. Low impact are ones I think that they won't have much impact either in the map, or they may not like salvage any units or really elevate any of them. It'll probably be very dependent on the character you put it on, and so it would depend on how good that character is before they even had an emblem skill on them. And then who is just who tier, who's even using this emblem. You probably won't be seeing this. So starting off with the first one, we got Marth. Marth is pretty solid, but I'm actually gonna probably put them into low impact. And so he doesn't really do too much going on over there. Like you get an evasion increase when you're attacking based on your speed. You're gonna need really high speed to make use of him. You know, that's kind of standard for Marth stuff. But other than that, he doesn't really do anything super crazy. Like you get a third hit when you double, you get extra damage when you break. You can do a little bit more damage, but he doesn't really add anything extra going on there. Because like basically Lyn does more Lyn and some others kind of do what he does better. He has a lot of avoid assists or avoid plus skills, which is pretty helpful. And he gives a plus in his speed stat. So that's also pretty good. So then you have Lodestar Rush, and I think that if you're not really making use of effective damage, Lodestar Rush isn't actually super impactful. Because you only do 7 hits if you're not a dragon, 9 if you do. And just like the damage down is like an Astra, and yeah, engage skills means that they won't be retaliating against you. But you are also going to be not doing much more damage than probably like a Sigurd attack or a Celica engage attack, or pretty much any engage skill. I think you're probably going to be doing the same amount even with Alir with his extra 2 hits of damage. So it's like pretty decent if you're making use of effective damage, but I don't think it will be that good outside of it, aside from the fact that you don't get countered during it. So Celica, I'm going to throw up in high impact. Celica's really good. I think she's really good. Now her skills isn't super crazy. Like she gives like the push skills from heroes, so she takes some damage, but you get like 2 extra damage, a little more damage. But that's not why she's really good. Magic's pretty good. There's a lot of enemies that don't have high res. She gets to warp across the map and just bop someone for really high damage. They can't retaliate against her because it's an engage attack. And that's pretty much the only thing you need to be good with her. Like she has Echo, so she can attack twice. You can either kill 2 enemies that are low health, or she can make use of like a chain attack. If you use a chain attack twice. But it's really all in Warp Ragnarok. I don't think Celica is super impactful outside of Warp Ragnarok, but Warp Ragnarok is super, super impactful. And it's just super good to just be able to run across the map and just kill someone, almost kill someone. So I didn't mention this earlier, but this is going to be based on the fact that this is all in Maddening mode. I'm going to be going off what we know from Maddening mode and from what I've seen from the first couple chapters. So enemies are pretty tanky, so she won't be one-shotting enemies with it, but she will be doing a lot of damage. She'll be really chunking enemies, and just being able to run across the map and chunk an enemy for like 75% of their health is really good. And I know there's been like you get the map that you get her on, we've seen in the previews, is that you're separated from 2 units. So you can actually just have Celica warp over there and then you give them backup and you have to worry about them getting overwhelmed too badly. But yeah, so I think it's like all Warp Ragnarok. Warp Ragnarok kind of just bops them. Also, she gets a stave later on in her skills, so she can also heal once she gets that up. All right, so Sigurd. Sigurd is also gonna be in high impact. I'm probably gonna put him above Celica just because his skills himself aren't that crazy. So you get Canto, which is a flat 2 after an action, which is still pretty good, just because like movement is low in this game, really low. I don't think that that's super crazy. It's just 2. You're not gonna be able to like completely get out of the way or like reposition completely to safety from it. Like if you attack an enemy and try to Canto away, they'll still be able to attack you on their turn because you're only 2 spaces away. He gets momentum, so the more spaces he moves is more damage, which works really well with his engage skill, where he basically gives +5. He gives +5 to a regular unit and then +7 to cavalry unit. And that's really big because then you're suddenly doing like, what, 6 +7, 11 extra damage if you move the whole way, if you can get momentum going. So that's pretty significant. But the big thing right now is that he gives a passive +1 move, which I think is the biggest thing. I think that's even bigger than his engage skill doubling your movement. Because you get like 3 skills of like 3 turns of moving really far, which is pretty good. But I'm like imagining if you move way too far, you're going to die. You're going to die fast if you move too far. But +1 move is actually super significant. Because again, this is a low move game. Your starting units are going to have 4 move. Your promoted will have 5. And horses have 5, 6 range. Just like moving 1 extra space is super huge. And I've seen from the maps and stuff, like moving across the map takes a while. And being able to like say, instead of attacking from the front or having to attack diagonally, you can move around to the left. And just 1 whole extra space every single turn is really big. Because you can also run backwards and stuff like that too, if you need to. I think that's super, super big. And then his engage skill doubles your movement basically, which is huge. And I think the one thing that's not great about Sigurd is his engage attack. That engage attack is just like you dash through a line of enemies. While it's possible for like a line of enemies to be pretty like good in taking them out, especially if they're like horses, where you have the Rider's Bane and can just kill them in 1 shot. But if you can't kill them in 1 shot, the skill is pretty bad because then you just go through a whole line of enemies, and then what do? You're stuck on the other side. You get 2 spaces of movement from Canto, but they're not dead. They can just come running at you straight up. Might be able to have like a couple units pick off the ones in the front, but because they have to be in a whole line, the characters in the front aren't going to be able to run all the way through all the enemies that you just ran through. Because Sigurd's the only one in the game who's going to have that crazy movement. Unless you're making use of other super high range options, which in that case, you probably don't need to use Sigurd's skill in the first place if you're making use of stuff like Lyn or Celica to just attack really far. So I'd say that's probably the biggest downside of Sigurd, is that his engage attack is pretty mediocre. And like momentum itself is like, you have to plan pretty far in advance. I think like using Divine Pulse or the Time Crystal, you can make momentum and get like a lot of mileage out of it. But I think like if you're not using Time Crystal or like not abusing it to like, oh, okay, this guy's gonna move here this turn. Okay, let me turn back. I'll engage Sigurd, move extra far so that I can move the full length of his movement next turn to get max momentum. All right, Leif. So Leif is interesting because he gets he gets Weapon Triangle permanent, and you also get like a 10%, or like a 5 damage defense, or like 5 damage. You get like a 5 damage decrease when you go and you get attacked with Weapon Triangle advantage. So I don't. So his big one is that if he has a lot of things going for him. So he always swaps to a Weapon Triangle advantage if you can, or he'll swap to counter. So you'll always be able to basically attack back. You'll never have to worry about getting broken. But you have to be playing a class that allows you to use every weapon, basically, because he does not give you every single weapon type. From what I'm assuming, he doesn't give you every single weapon type. He just gives you axe when you engage. So you don't have. I'm guessing when you get him up later in bond levels, you'll probably get one of every weapon type. In which case, then you'll have full advantage no matter who you're on, and like no matter what weapon you're holding. But before you get those weapons unlocked, you only has axe. So that means it will work good against on sword units, because sword units will really like it so that they don't get broken on the enemy phase. But lance units can't use it until they raise that bond level enough to get a weapon that will give you a sword. So I'm gonna put Leif in solid, actually, because he's all around just keeping weapon triangle advantage, and just basically that. So you never get broken with Leif, and that's the goal of Leif right there. And his engage attack will attack with every other main. He'll attack with sword, lance, axe, and bow. So that means if you're attacking any one of the melee weapons, except for fist, they will get broken. Or they will get broken, but you won't be able to break daggers or bows, which I don't know how useful breaking a dagger or bow will be. Maybe daggers, because they give poison. So breaking daggers might be pretty helpful. But if you're a fist, you get 100% break on anything. So I don't know if I don't think that will go through like Knight's break invuln. But other than that, I think that'll still be pretty good. But I don't know what the fist classes are. All I know is that you're starting fist class as a healer, which I don't think that healer should really ever be seeing attack combat, really. But from what I've seen in maddening, I don't think you'll ever be seeing having Fram do attack damage, really. So I think solid is a good spot for him. He'll be solid. I don't think he'll be anything insane, but he'll be a very solid and help shore up a unit to be a little bit better. All right, so Roy, I'm gonna throw in potential. I think Roy has potential to be really good because he comes with Miracle, but it's not bad Miracle like old Miracle was. It's Miracle that guarantees you live an attack. Not an attack, it lets you live a round of combat, which is huge. Because before Miracle would not let you live a round of combat, it would just be an attack. So if they doubled, then you're dying. But you have to like hope that they proc again and you don't die. But this one means that if you get attacked, you will guarantee live that round. So baiting singular units or units not, even units with chain attack, as long as you bait a singular attack on him, if he's going to die, then he won't die. He has to be above 30% though. You can lower it to 20%. Your bond skills, but that's still not super significant of a difference. But I think a big thing is that when you engage with him, you get 5 levels. Now on Maddening, we know that it's going to be fixed growth mode. We found that out through leaks that is stuck to fixed growth mode. So 5 levels isn't insane, but that's going to generally be 3 stats. 5 levels will generally be +3 to almost everything, maybe, depending on what your growths are. It'll be like from 1 to 3, 3 for your good stats, 1 for your bad stats. So that's pretty good. A +3 is pretty significant, especially if you combine that with tonics, then you'll probably be over leveling the general stat levels of the enemies with Roy in that case. And he has a pretty big AoE attack, which will probably be good for just chunking enemies. Because from what I've seen on Maddening, enemies are pretty tanky. So being able to chunk a lot of them at once is a good idea. And because it generally takes, from what I've seen, it takes like upwards of 3 attacks to take down an enemy in Maddening, which is pretty rough. So you really, I think that AoE skill will be pretty good. That's why I'm gonna put him in potential. I think he might be better than Leif. All right, Lyn now. Lyn, I'm going to throw in below Sigurd at high impact. I think Lyn is going to be really good because when I first saw it, I didn't understand what was happening really with her. I thought she gets a ballista effect. That's not super crazy. No, she's crazy. Okay, so she gets to summon 4 phantoms, or like four things that will follow up, that will do chain attacks with you from wherever. They will always chain attack with you. That's huge because chain attack is 10% damage. They're locked at 80% hit, which is kind of sucks because it's stuck at 80, which isn't super reliable. Well, I don't know what the RNG system of the game is, but 80% isn't super reliable. But just getting to do that many attacks, 4 attacks, that's 40% of the that's 40% of the enemy's HP before you even attack. And then Lyn has Desperation on top of it, so if she's really fast, she can get 4 attacks in on the enemy and then 2 attacks before they can even retaliate. That's huge. That's super big. That'll be really strong at just killing enemies, especially at the slower ones. But I think even just like regular enemies, it'll be really strong because that's 4 that's 4 chain attacks going off. That's 40% of the enemy's health gone if they all hit. That's huge. That's really huge. And then she has ballista range. If you're playing a covert unit, which is like thieves or bows, then you get plus 10 range on it too. So you get Astra, Ballista, you just get to nuke a unit from afar. It's basically Warp Ragnarok, but you don't put yourself in danger. So you don't get to hit magic, so you're gonna have to hit through defense, but you don't put yourself in danger like Celica does. With Celica, you need a contingency plan if you are going to throw her out there with Warp Ragnarok. Lyn, you don't need that. You just get to shoot someone for free, basically, whenever you want. Moving on to Eirika. Eirika, I am torn on. I'm torn on. So I'm actually going to throw her on solid. I'm going to throw her onto solid. I'm going to throw Ephraim specifically onto low impact. So I know they're I know they're together, so they should be ranked together technically, but I'm going to put their individual effects separately. Eirika gets Luna on all of her attacks basically, which is pretty good. I think that's really good because enemies are tanky, so hitting through more defense is really good, but that's all she really gets. Ephraim is the opposite. Ephraim gets Soul on every attack, which I don't think Soul is super useful. Marth also has a Soul effect on like your third attack, your like second or third attack. So it's like decent. If you can double with Ephraim, it's better than Marth, but otherwise I think Ephraim's effect by itself is not great. But it gets pretty good in engaged form because you get both of them. So you get permanent Luna, permanent Soul while you're engaged, and you get to do in a sword lance attack as your engaged skill, here as your engaged attack. So that means you can break axes and swords. You can't break lances though, so you can't touch that. But otherwise, I think that's just solid. Having a permanent Luna with her will really increase the damage output of a unit. If they are a good self-sufficient unit with good speed, good strength, Eirika will help them out a lot more because then they can double and they can kill things significantly easier with the Luna effect. And when you get her engaged, you can also tank a bit because you get that Soul effect too. But otherwise, I think by themselves they aren't super crazy. And I think Ephraim, I really don't think you should ever change to Ephraim unless you break a unit and can like kill them with just your regular thing. In this case, you can heal up, but in that case, I would still put it in low impact because that's entirely dependent on the unit it's on being strong already. All right, Ike. Okay. So Ike has a good bit going for him. So I'm gonna put him in potential. I'm gonna put him higher than Roy. I think Ike has potential to be really strong because you get a defense res boost for under 75%. That's not super great because if you get a heal to the top, you're not gonna get that defense boost. It's like +5. It might be +5 only. I don't know. It might scale up as you get higher in bond skills or bond level. So because like you only get +5 and you have to be under 75% already to get that, if a unit chunks you for like a ton of your health before you even get damage, you're not gonna be like really enjoying that +5 defense res boost. But Ike really shines in that he gets his engaged form is really strong, I think. So you get you can't dodge skills. So you always get broken. I don't think he blocks breaking. You always get broken by weapon triangle advantage. You can't potentially dodge it. But you get half damage, 60% if you're a dragon. So that's a lot of damage reduction, which actually will really help out for tanks. And Ike specifically is on this range where he can't be on a 2 tanky unit because you need to take damage to first off get your initial +5 boost. And then you also need to take damage for enemies to target. Actually, the more I'm thinking about him, I'm going to throw him down. I'm going to put him on the lowest part of potential. Because I know the AI will not attack enemies they can't damage. So potentially if Ike puts your defense boost so high that you stop taking damage, enemies will stop attacking you, which is bad because you want to have Ike soak up the hits. And that's because his Great Aether is really good. He boosts his defense even more. Oh wait, he boosts his defense even more with Great Aether, his Aether attack. Oh no, 'cause if he's too high, enemies won't attack you. Oh no. Oh no. Okay, I'm gonna throw it. I'm gonna throw him. I'm moving him down more as I see him. Okay. Okay. So his Great Aether skill attack is really good. Because he boosts his defense, he takes damage, and then he throws out his attack and from like a, what? I think it's like one square radius? 1 square radius or so. Might be 2. I'm not too sure. But he does damage and he heals himself. So he'll heal himself back to full from all the damage he basically takes. But, as I said, if you have too high defense, enemies won't attack you. So they need to just still like pile around him to, you know, make use of it. But otherwise, you won't be taking damage. In which case, I don't know if Great Aether will deal more damage from like a vengeance effect. It might get a vengeance effect later. I don't think so. I don't think the video did not say it has a vengeance effect though. So, oh god, I'm so torn on Ike. I'm super torn on Ike right now. Because I think if your defense just gets boosted so high that he just stops taking damage, he goes low. But I think if you put him on a squishy unit, actually, I think on a squishy unit, he has potential. On a squishy unit, he can really shore up their defenses, and then like a glass cannon, and then he shores up their defenses, they take damage still, and then you hit them all back with the Aether and heal all your health back. I'm gonna put Ike in potential. I'm gonna put Ike in potential. I think on a squishy unit, he'll work well. But I think if you put him on any like defensive, like slightly defensive competent unit, he will. I think he can fall to even low impact. I think I can potentially fall to low impact depending on the unit you put him on, but he also has potential to be really high impact on whatever unit you put him on. So he's gonna be halfway between. I guess I just put him solid then, shouldn't I? If he's literally in between the two. Yeah, I think I'll put him to solid. Well, also, oh yeah, chain attacks do flat damage. Chain attacks do flat damage, so if you get chain attacked by an enemy, you're still gonna be taking a lot of damage. I'm gonna put him to solid. Yeah. Yeah, the more I think about him, the less he's good. He is solid, potentially low impact in the end. All right, Michaiah. Michaiah, I think this is an easy one. I think she's going to be really high impact. Like, I think if you look at her effects, there's zero reason. I think she's literally just a slap on any character you want, and she will be really good. Because first off, she gives staves to any unit. So you don't have to put her on a healing unit to make use of her staves. She can give staves to any unit, which can mean you can throw it on a high move like Paladin or a high move Dragon Knight or Griffin Knight and go really far and heal people. But her big thing comes from her engage form. Her engage form is really, really, really good. Because one, she gets a fortify in her phase for free. She just gets 1 fortify every single time you engage with her. And it drops her HP down to 1, so you're like, oh, you might think, oh, I might need another healer then to heal her back up after I drop her HP down. You don't need to do that because she increases the effect range of staves by 1 square, which is huge because that makes staves like mend and heal AoE attacks. And if you heal someone right in front of her, that AoE is gonna hit her back. So you get your heal back just by healing someone with a stave. So it doesn't matter. She's fully self-sufficient in that regard. And like, she has I know she's gonna get like Thany in her bond skills, which gives her like armor and gives her rapier effectiveness. So that'll be really good for nuking enemies, certain types of enemies. But you don't even really need to think about shine or anything like that. Like, okay, yeah, she has shine. She can light up Fog of War. How many maps there are of that. But like, it's literally just like that stave stuff is super good. She can give staves to anyone, so you can make anyone you want to heal her. She has a free fortify whenever you engage with her. And then she gets that effect range +1 is huge because obstruct staff that makes the ice now becomes 5 ice tiles through. That's so much obstruction. I think there's a rewarp stave in the game. I think I've heard that was in the game. Rewarp means you can rewarp multiple people, combine that with a couple other engages. You're gonna have something crazy going on with her. I'm actually gonna put her above Celica. I'm gonna put her above Celica because I think. Do I put her above Celica? I think she's really good. I think she's really good. I'm actually gonna put her. I'm gonna put her above all of them actually, because I think that she is just completely self-sufficient. She is completely self-sufficient. These three, they're really good. They can make any character good, but they're still reliant a bit on the character you throw them on, their performance. Michaiah doesn't care about that. All of her help comes from herself. It doesn't matter what character you throw her on, she will still contribute as a skill. All right, Lucina. Lucina next. I think Lucina has a lot of potential. So I've been seeing people say, like in her video, they think Lucina's kind of weak. I don't think that's right at all. So she gives passive chain attack to any character she's on. That's huge because like covert stance is like not super available. Like it's only available on stuff like the axe fighters and things like that. It's not super available. So making any character be able to chain attack is huge. And chain attacking is really good if you have 1-2 range. Because 1-2 range, you can just pile on so much extra damage if you are in a 1-2 range spot with chain attack ability. And if you can throw it on a unit that has, just throwing it on any unit is just so good. Because then you don't have to lock them into an axe fighter covert stance unit. You can throw it on any unit. It could be a flying unit, it could be anything. That's super helpful. You can be a dagger. I think actually that might have a lot of effect. That might have a lot of help with daggers. I don't know if chain attack will trigger the poison from daggers, but if it does, then you can throw on a dagger unit. That dagger unit can always chain attack, and then you're gonna get free stacks of poison. So that could be really good. But that's why she's in potential. She gets rapier, so you get effective against it. So she gets to negate attacks on adjacent allies. 100% if that's a fist. So she can be really good on a fist character because then in her engage form, adjacent allies take no damage. They'll negate the first attack, which is huge. That's actually really huge to consistently get that on a fist character. So she might be really good on fist characters. And then potentially if you have a knife too for the chain attack. So that for fist, when she's engaged, if you have fist equipped, then you just nullify damage. That makes her really, really good for defense because that will also prevent your allies from getting broken so that they can also counterattack too if they can, because break stops them from counterattacking, which is huge in like enemies attacking because they'll go for breaks when they can. So that increases your damage output like so much on enemy phase if you can guarantee them not getting broken. And then her engage skill allows anyone within 2 spaces of her to initiate a chain attack. That's huge as well. Because as I said, with Lyn, 4 units chain attacking, that's 40%. 2 spaces of her, if you pile up everyone next to her for that chain attack, if you get everyone next to her and then chain attack with them, that's like 5, that's like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. It's in 2 spaces, right? So 2, 4, 6, that's like potentially 9. If you have a boss in front of you, you could put an ally behind the boss too if there's space there for a potential 10 chain attacks on someone. That's huge. That's 10 chain attacks. If you get 10 chain attacks and have them all hit, they're all stuck at 80%, which is probably the reason why I think it's not as broken as it could be. But I still think chain attacks are really strong. Because that's a flat 10% of the boss's health. 10% of the boss's health, if you can get potentially 10 people there, that's just, the entire boss is dead just from chain attacks before Lucina even does her attack. So I think she has so much potential. I think she has more potential than Roy. Oh my god, I got so excited talking about Lucina. I think she's gonna be really good. I think she has so much potential to be really good. But I don't know. I'll have to see her more in action before I see whether or not she can be a high impact or a low impact. The more I think about her, the more I think she deserves going to high impact. I'm doing it. I think she's in high impact. I think she's actually really good. All right, Tiki. Not Tiki. We got Corrin. I jumped way ahead. Okay, Corrin. So Corrin, I think. Corrin is tricky. Corrin is tricky because she does field manipulation. And field manipulation is... It depends on what it is, because it's dependent on the type. It depends on the type of field it is. You can choose what type of field you set the field to as a dragon unit. But otherwise, it doesn't feel super... It could potentially not be really great because you could potentially get something stuck on a unit that doesn't have a great option depending on your map. So it might be really good on certain units, because I've seen the healing one. The healing space is huge, and having that many healing spaces is actually huge for your allies. But at the same time, also enemies can make use of them, I think. But she is utility. She's a very utility-heavy character. Generally, utility-heavy characters don't have to be super good, because they can go on any unit and generally be good. So I'm gonna throw her in potential, because that can make units that can't contribute so much in a certain situation potentially contribute a lot through the effects. But you get the most flexibility with her on a dragon unit. So on a dragon unit, that can like turn them into the ultimate support unit, because then you can always change the field to whatever field you need at the time. And then her attack does a 3 down, 3 in a straight line attack that puts avoid tiles down on the bottom, evasion down, which I actually don't think is super great. So like, it's an attack, it knows counterattack, you know, every single emblem has that. So there's no counterattack, but 3 spaces away is actually a lot. Because like, if you're gonna be having allies around you, you only have 4 to 5 on a foot unit, 4 to 5 spaces of movement. So that's not great. Because if you're not promoted, if you're for someone behind him that's 3 spaces away, you can like run to like the front, but then your ally is already on an avoid tile. If then they can't run around or anything unless they're like a horse or a flyer or a promoted or have Sigurd. Or they have Sigurd, they can't really run around to like not be on the evasion downs in case they don't kill, because enemies are tanky. Again, enemies are tanky. The avoid down doesn't reduce speed. If it did reduce speed, that'd be broken. That'd be really broken. But it doesn't. So I think she deserves being in potential. I think Alir or any other dragon unit you might get that can make use of her choosing the field ability can be really helpful, be really good utility. And again, because they're a utility unit, no, they're a utility ring. So they inherently, because they are focusing on utility, they do not matter much who they're on. But Corrin herself does matter who she's on, which is why there's potential. There's potential for her to be really good. And if she's really, really good on Alir, just by the flexibility, then it might be like, okay, you always insta-lock her on Alir just to always have those options. Byleth, I think, is also not as crazy as people think he is. I was also thinking he was crazy when we first saw him. But you are locked to 1 engage skill per engage. So you can't use his 4-person dance every turn when you're engaged. You don't get 3 turns of 4-person dance. You can only use it once, which is still helpful. It's still really good, a 4-person dance. But you get 1, and then you're locked out of it for 3 turns, and then you have to get your thing back, and then you can do it again. So it's actually, I think it's significantly lower impact, because you're gonna have a regular dancer. You get a 1 dance, but you also can just, that dance itself can be really good. But we know from the game, enemy bosses have their revive stones, so you can't kill them in 1 shot or anything on like 1 engagement. And you have to fight through multiple health bars, and they're tanky. From what I've seen of the game of Maddening, they're tanky in the early game already. Like, they're really tanky in the early game. So I don't know if Byleth's gonna be really great, because you might have really good synergy with Michaiah, because you could rewarp him and potentially rewarp 5 units, and then you position them around to get, you could position them around to get a 4-person dance, and you get 4-person dance wherever you rewarp to, and then Michaiah can act again too. I think he has more potential. Again, he is reliant he gives a stat increase, like +3 stat increase, based on what type of unit you are. But if you're a dragon unit, you get Omni +3. So on an Omni unit, he could be really good. But otherwise, you get 1 4-person dance per engage. And his engaged skills, you got a chance of attacking if you miss again. There's a chance, it doesn't guarantee him trying to do another swing. I think that's like not great. You get a chance of attacking again if you miss as his passive skill. Which, if that was like a guaranteed, if you miss, you attack again, you get another chance to attack again, which would mean you get 2 chances at throwing out a 70%. It gives you 2 chances of throwing out 70%, but you'd only get 1 hit, but that's not what it is, it's just a chance. So I'm gonna throw him in potential. I actually don't think he's as crazy as people think he is with 4-person dance. Let's do Tiki next. I know what Tiki does. So Tiki gives aptitude, or she gives an increase in growth. I don't know how much. She gives +5 to all stats and +10 HP when you engage. By turning into the dragon, I think. And then she can grant a revive stone to an ally. So just from that, I'm gonna throw her in high impact. She's a utility unit, but with her engage attack, she's a utility unit. But she can grant a unit a revive stone. You can only do it once per map, so it's not reusable like Roy's Miracle, but everything else about her is basically just better Roy. She doesn't have an AoE attack, but she grants a revive stone to a unit, which means that so revive stones will end the combat when you die. Like you don't revive mid-combat and then get attacked again if they double you. So that already acts as like a miracle one time. You get an auto heal back to full health after your revive stone's dead, and you can just go. Like, so that's like basically a miracle, but you don't have to worry about another character coming in and attacking you and killing you potentially. Yeah, so I just think she's better Roy. And she gives +5 to all stats and +10 to HP when you attack or when you engage with her into the dragon form. Which is just better Roy again because Roy grants 5 levels, which with maddening those fixed growths on the first playthrough, that does not guarantee you 5 stats. That actually guarantees you won't get 5 stats in a level at all. Because you cannot, I don't think anyone's going to be able to get 100% hits or procs of the fixed growth in maddening. But with Tiki, you just get +5 to every stat. That's basically if you had 100% growth at every stat and triggered Roy's skill. And she gets increased growth. So that means when you level up with her equipped on you, you have, I don't know how big the growth are, but that means you're going to be getting more stats than you would be without her in maddening mode. Like that guarantees you're getting more stats. If it's like 20%, that means every 5 levels with her that you level up basically, that gets an extra +1 to every stat. That's pretty significant, I think. So I think she's just really good off that. All right, so we have Edelgard, Dimitri, and Claude. So Edelgard, they're tough to rate. They are very tough to rate. I am wondering where I should put them. I actually don't think they're crazy. I don't think they're crazy at all, actually. Let's see. Let's go through their skills, and so I'm gonna put potential on all of them because they just passively give 120% EXP. You will always have 120% EXP, which is why it's really good because maddening mode is really like you get very little EXP on maddening mode. It's actually pretty EXP starved. But other than that, I actually don't think their individual skills are that great. I would put Dimitri in solid. He gives you a 1 damage attack from a ranged attack 1 time. So that's good for like tanking a magic attack, but it's only the first attack against you. So if you get like, if someone like chain attacks you or anything beforehand, then you lose it. Or you only get, so if you get hit by 2 enemies, you just don't get it anymore. You're still gonna get chunked. Claude I think is pretty good. Because you can throw, Claude I think has very high potential. I think Claude has very high potential because he will throw poison on the enemy. I'm gonna throw Edelgard down into solid too. So I put Claude above in potential because his engage attack, when you get him on, then you get AoE poison attack because you get to attack the enemy and all enemies within one tile will get poisoned. That's big, because you can AoE stack poison, do more damage for the rest of your party. But I think the trickiness with them is that you're set on a rotation. Like they swap every turn. So you won't guarantee have Claude when you need him. And same thing with Dimitri, you won't guarantee have Dimitri when you need him. You won't have Edelgard when you need her. But they all do something pretty decent. Edelgard throws out AoE damage, AoE damage spaces. She throws out AoE damage. I'm actually gonna throw her down. Her effect is probably low impact. I don't think she's really great. Yeah, I think that's where I would put them. Their engage attack, they can do a lot of damage. They basically guarantee a break on the melee triangle. So that I think like as a whole, you can probably you can treat Claude, the highest one, as like the whole, but their individual effects down here, I think Dimitri's worse than Claude. I think Edelgard is probably the least impactful attack there. Their weapon isn't super great. You just get effective damage against dragons. Cool, I guess. Other than that, I think their biggest boon is that you give veteran to a unit. You give EXP gain to a unit, and EXP gain is pretty low in maddening mode. So having extra EXP is really helpful. So yeah, that's it. This is what I'm gonna. I think I'm pretty satisfied with this as my pre-release impressions of how strong each of the units are going to be, or each of the emblems will be. So if you made it to this part of the video, guys, thank you for watching through the whole way. Let me know whether you agree or you disagree or you think my opinion's garbage. Let me know in the comments. Like, comment, subscribe if you enjoyed. I'll be streaming this game tomorrow, maddening mode, blind for everything except for like the first couple of chapters because I've seen a bit of the beginning. So yeah, thank you guys for coming in. I'll see you guys next time.